The Deep Drift, written, read by Tim Berthelsen, 2025. Via rolled over, blinking the sleep boogies away so she could focus on the tiny screen. It had been vibrating every 30 seconds, enough times to wake her from a dreamy sleep. A notification said the main battery power was down to 60%. Suddenly, she was wide awake. Visions of possible causes were flashing vividly through her consciousness as she stumbled out of bed, pulling on some sweatpants and a shirt. She didn't notice the collar was pulling her neck back and the sleeves were bunched awkwardly in her pits as she reached the small control room. A tap on the home icon of the control screen showed that the wave generators, solar arrays, and wind turbines were all stowed. The hatches, periscopes, and antennae were also pulled in and covered. This meant that the top surface of the submerged habitat were as smooth as possible to prevent snags from fishing line, nets, or anchors. She donned the headphones and pressed the hydrophone icon, listening intently for prop noise or telltale signs that a boat was in the vicinity. "What's going on?" She practically jumped out of her skin as Gage lightly tapped her shoulder. "Sheesh, you scared the pee out of me." "Sorry, didn't think about your state of mind. Is there something wrong?" "Yeah, we've been pulled in for the last 13 hours and the battery is below 60%. "It was noticeably quiet this morning. I was enjoying it. Are there boats about?" "That's what I was just listening for when you startled me. I couldn't hear anything obvious. Here, you listen." Gage listened for a minute or so, closing his eyes. "I hear some clicking sounds, like snapping shrimp, and a little noise from the surface chop, but no boat noise. Aren't we quite a ways from the shore or any reefs?" Via tapped the map icon to check their position. "The last GPS reading was 13 hours ago, indicating we were about 140 kilometers from shore and about the same from reefs. Sonar indicates bottom is 332 meters, and our depth is 23 meters. The ocean current here is less than 2 kilometers per hour, so we drifted less than 30 kilometers during that time. I'm switching us to minimal power mode. Tell the others no hot showers or anything else hot this morning until we figure out what is keeping us pulled in." Gage dictated the message to the others and tapped send. Kayla and Noah were not up and about yet, as it was still early. Even though sunlight was dim at 23 meters, they tried to maintain some semblance of a circadian rhythm. Via grabbed the tablet and pulled up the logic diagram of the automatic pull-in system. She started mumbling about each component as her mind played a 3D view of it. She rotated each component and envisioned a cross-section, thinking of what could cause the system to stay pulled in when there were no boats present. She traced each cable route connecting all the components. "What are you mumbling about?" Gage had popped back in, munching on something from the galley. "Take some notes for me, would you? I need to make a list of the items to check in order of most likely to be the cause. Put a number beside each indicating the difficulty of checking it. Top of the list are the hydrophones used by the system to listen for boat noise. Put a 10 next to this one because we have to take a swim outside to check their condition. Next, the connectors on both ends of the cables connecting the 4 hydrophones to the computer. Put a 3 next to this task. Next, the software. We need to analyze the log for the past 15 hours to see what functions have been run. Maybe run a diagnostic and a reboot while we're at it. Give this a 3 too." "Why can't we have coffee this morning?" Noah croaked as he walked toward the galley. "Because the generators have been pulled in for the last 12 hours for no apparent reason and the battery is below 60%. You know the consequences if the battery is drained." 10-4. Anything you need me to help with?" "Yeah, will you and Gage work on inspecting the 4 pull-in hydrophone connectors and check each cable's conductivity? I'm about to look through the software log and do a reboot. Shouldn't take me more than an hour." "Let me grab some grub and then I'll be ready to work. By the way, your shirt is on backwards." Via didn't hear the last comment because she was scanning the endless lines of text in the log for anything to jump out as unusual. She rebooted the system and went to the galley for some food while it came back online. "What did you guys find to eat?" "There are a few ripe bananas on the stalk and some leftover algae spaghetti from yesterday." "I think I'll pass on those. Yogurt and dried shrimp sounds good to me." She opened the fridge and pulled out the jar of yogurt, a culinary delight invented and coined by Gage. Yogurt was a gelatinous goo that looked like pond scum but had a tangy, briny flavor. It made dried shrimp more palatable. "I don't know how you can stomach that goop in the morning." Kayla threw Via the bag of dried shrimp. "Thanks, I don't know why, but I've grown to like the punch of energy it gives me. I don't mind the texture and flavor." Noah threw the banana peels in the bin and walked down to start working on inspecting the cables with Gage. Via looked up when Kayla sat down across from her with a glass of orange juice. "That dang alarm interrupted some weird dreams this morning. I wish I could remember them because they would have made a story worth listening to. What got you out of bed today?" "Oh, the usual. Couldn't sleep anymore. Also, I heard you guys rustling around out here and was curious. What did you find in the log?" "The system was sensing boat noise off and on for the last 15 hours. It was happening just frequently enough to keep the system pulled in. Gage and I have only listened for about 5 minutes collectively. Maybe it's a bad connection, or it could be that there is actually infrequent boat noise the hydrophones are picking up on. Would you be willing to spend some time on the main hydrophones, at least 20 minutes? We need to know if there really is boat noise." "Sure, it'll be a nice peaceful way to start the day's work. I wasn't looking forward to finishing the scrub-a-tub job I started yesterday on the aquarium." Via walked back to the system screen and opened the log again. There were 2 sensor disconnected records indicating Noah and Gage had disconnected the cables of 2 of the hydrophones. There were also 2 corresponding sensor connected records. One of these had just thrown a boat detected record. Looks like I need to get ready for a swim, she thought out loud. She walked back towards the dive chamber, passing Gage and Noah dismantling the last panel. What's the status? 3 that we checked so far are in great shape. We'll let you know what we find here. Are you going to suit up? Yeah, the log shows the lav hydrophone you just checked is still detecting a boat. The other isn't. I need to put eyes on both. Kayla is going to spend some time on the main hydrophones listening for noise. Okay, I'll come with you. Sounds good, Noah. See you in a bit. Via inspected her dry suit and pulled the tank from the bin. She screwed her regulator hose to the nozzle and checked the pressure. 180 bar should be fine. She tested the regulator and the BCD, then took her sweats off and stepped into her suit. No wonder my shirt was uncomfortable. I put it on backwards. Didn't anybody else notice? She mumbled as she took her shirt off and zipped the suit up. After closing the inner hatch and receiving a green light from the diagnostics, she opened the hatch and stepped in. Once Noah joined her, she closed the inner hatch and felt the usual butterflies in her stomach. As the chamber pressurized slowly, they had to clear their ears frequently. They were exiting at around 20 meters depth, so the chamber needed to reach about 2 atmospheres or 2 bar before they could open the hatch in the floor to expose the sea. After about 10 minutes, the outside hatch slowly opened. Putting the regulator mouthpiece into her mouth, Via hopped into the water, feeling it splash her face. Noah followed, and they began swimming along the underside of the habitat toward the lav hydrophone. They turned their lights on, taking the opportunity to see the condition of the hull and external components. Via, I'm seeing movement around the lav hydrophone port, Noah said through the comms. I see it too. What is it? It looks like shrimp. Huh, that makes sense now. Snapping shrimp make a snapping noise with their large claw. It must sound like propeller noise when they all start up at the same time. How can we move them away so they don't come back? I have a specimen bag with me. I'll hold it over the sensor port and try to prod them out. They returned to the decompressing chamber with the shrimp in the bag. After about 10 minutes, it was safe for them to enter the habitat. Their return process was old hat by now, and it didn't take long. Kayla showed up and looked at the shrimp. The bright pink color and the large pincer make you guys Sinalphius pink Floydi. You can be our first guests in the aquarium tonight after I finish cleaning it. Hey, one of you guys need to find the Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album to play. As soon as I get the generator back online and send up the SAT link, I'll get right on it. Via proceeded to the control screen to look at the log again, but on the way there, she heard the low rumble of the winch and the hiss of the air filling the wave buoys. The generator was being deployed. Shouldn't take long to recharge the battery with today's swell. Soon, the eclectic rhythmic sound of Pink Floyd's Breathe was filling the habitat as everyone got back to their plans for the day. This has been Storytelling Wednesday with Tim. If you enjoyed listening to this story, give it a like. If you want to hear more, subscribe. I'll be putting out more content next week.